If you've ever worried about what exactly is going into your food when you eat out at a restaurant or hit your favorite drive-through in the middle of the night, I suggest you might want to steer clear of the feast. The rest of you should tuck in your napkins and prepare for a gourmet of slow steaming and flavorful terror in this little eco-horror gem from Wales. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. The Feast is in select theaters today on demand and digital download from IFC Midnight. It's directed by Lee Haven Jones and written by Roger Williams. A rich Welsh family with ties to Parliament are having an extravagant meal for a few guests. Their normal helper can't make it out, so a new server is sent to help out with the cooking, prep, and serving. A young girl named Cadi, played by Anne's Elway, arrives on their doorstep. She doesn't talk much and has a peculiar way about her, but matriarch Glenda, played by Nia Roberts, is too busy prepping the meal to notice. Turns out, Cadi's intentions are not completely on the up and up, and somehow this ties to the family's intentions to drill and unearth underground tunnels that run through the land that has been in their family for generations. The Feast tells a tale told many, many times, but does so in a clever and most of all patient way. The film focuses on everything else but the real story that's going on, telling a tertiary tale that feels completely disconnected from the opening moments where a construction worker dies in a field when his drill breaks through an underground cave system. Of course, that's not the case, and while the film is engrossing enough to make you forget about the opening moments, it all comes together by the end. The Feast distracts you from what is really going on by adorning itself with all kinds of odd and eccentric characters. There are two sons of the family, Guto, played by Stefan Klenid, a drug-addicted partygoer forced to live at home with his rich parents rather than properly get sober in public, and Gwired, played by Sian Alun Davies, a health addict who quit medical school and is now simply prepping for an upcoming triathlon. Then there is the patriarch of the family, Gwyn, played by Julian Lewis-Jones, an alpha male politician with a troubled childhood who takes pride in shooting the rabbits for dinner, and the aforementioned Glenda, played by Nia Roberts, whose family has owned the land for generations and seeks solace in a small room in the house wherein her nerves get too frayed. The way the family is introduced reminded me a lot of the eccentric families from the earlier films of Yorgos Lanthimos, like Dogtooth and the Alps, and his most recent, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. As each of them plays a role they are assigned, but are too consumed by their interests and presenting themselves as too perfect to care to work out any family dysfunction. The arriving guests, Euros, played by Rodri Mailer, and Mare, played by Lisa Palfrey, add to the flavor, bringing their own eccentricities to the mix, making it unpredictable and interesting to see this polite dinner unfold. The Feast is all about the duplicitous nature of humanity. Every character has a secret that contradicts the face they present to each other in public. The dinner itself is a perfect setting as everyone is putting on airs to be polite and proper, when bubbling under the surface is a more primal and animalistic side that is just waiting to claw its way out. Cadi is the prime example of this. Anne's Elway plays her as an innocent plopped into this bizarre and extravagant play. She's both naive to the privileged lifestyle the family leads, but savvy and unbeknownst to them, completely in control of this situation the first second she sets foot on the property. There are some harrowing scenes of horror in the latter half of the feast. Some gory punchlines to jokes set up in the first half land strongly. But there are also little grotesque moments that occur from the very beginning that shows that something is very, very wrong with the server hired for this party. While the film only weighs in at about an hour and a half, the pace is slow, with each step competently thought out 5 steps ahead. Some might lack the patience to endure the slow plunge into the abyss, but those who stick around will be satisfied by the mayhem in the final act. The feast isn't without fault. There are a pair of moments that hammer the point home that I felt were pretty unnecessary. One involves a flashback right on the cusp of the final act, which attempts to offer clarity to what really occurred earlier in the film, even though it's pretty obvious what was going on when it occurred earlier. The other moment happens in the last 5 seconds of the feast, as a knowing glance is given to the audience. This breaking of the fourth wall came out of nowhere and ends the film a bit too Greta Thunberg-y for my tastes.
How dare you!
Outside of those two missteps, the feast is a marvelous slow tear of a band-aid off dry skin style of film. Every tiny inch is painful and horrifying to watch, and I couldn't help but be riveted to see the destruction of this family finally occur. They seemed doomed from the moment we meet them, but the how and why, relating to greatly underscored ages-old Welsh folklore, has one hell of a payoff. Pack your patience away and check out the feast. It's set to a slow boil, but the end result tastes deviously and gorily delicious. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both Grave Trancers and Pirouette, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at mlmiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. You're doomed. Live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside that